Roll call, please.
Kane.
Here.
Deline.
Here.
Boone.
Here.
Schott.
Here.
Swagan. And she was here. Swagan.
Sorry, here.
I said she was here. And Mayor Anderson.
Here. The agenda was sent out on Friday. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Doing so moves.
Second.
Motion by Deline and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. May 20th minutes were also attached to the agenda on Friday. Are there any changes to the minutes or modifications? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Boone so moves.
Kane second.
Motion by Boone and seconded to approve May 20th, 2019 minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Visitors to be heard, Damon and Allison Jarevik.
I guess before I get started, I was just.
We'd like to limit to like 5 minutes with your statement.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask why we're being limited?
Just to keep it on focus, on task with whatever you're.
Is it typical to limit a conversation to 5 minutes when we're on the agenda? Because we've attended meetings where topics have received more than 5 minutes of attention.
Well, but we're asking for 5 minutes.
Okay. Before the time is included, can I just ask that I saw online that some of the council members' terms are listed to expire for May of 2019, but I see everybody's here, so will the council be the same going forward for the next few meetings, or will only a few of you be on until 2020?
Everybody here is on until 2020 with the exception of Ward 3, Tom Erickson. We're seeking a replacement.
Okay. So my statement tonight, I guess, is the following. Much of our previous discussions surrounding how the city will fund improvements necessitated by expansion of housing and business focused on when that planning should occur. Before approval of the development, after, which approach you pursue is dependent on how you will be affected. So to have a productive conversation where deference is given to all, it would help to identify and address the concerns of both parties in a compassionate and respectful environment and to avoid expediency, which is defined as the quality of being convenient and practical despite possibly being improper or immoral. There is no doubt that the addition of high-density housing coupled with the prospect of commercial business will dramatically increase traffic in our neighborhood. According to the Institute of Transportation Engineers publication, Trip Generation 7th edition, we can anticipate that each apartment building containing 8 units that the city approves to meet its need for affordable housing will increase the number of daily trips on surrounding roads by approximately 53 trips. In cities which lack public transportation or numerous employment opportunities in close proximity to affordable housing or which provide affordable housing for commuters, this number of daily trips could reasonably be predicted to increase. We must then deduce that the city's recent approval of a rezone for multifamily housing for the proposed addition of 2 8-unit apartment complexes could increase the average daily trips by at least 106 trips. When this expansion will necessitate improved infrastructure and how it will be funded is yet to be seen, but if proper planning is to occur, it does require consideration. Based on documented Beresford city meetings, the issue of increased traffic caused by development and its effects on neighborhoods is a concern commonly raised by Beresford residents. Fully addressing these concerns, not just providing a small window to hear them, will raise awareness about the implications of development and will demonstrate that the council is mindful and shows decent consideration for the well-being of residents living in affected areas. This is the 4th city meeting we have attended pertaining to this issue as a result of unanswered questions. At the first 2, our questions were met with conjecture and conflicting statements by the council. At the 3rd meeting, we received a letter disclosing how the city would assign special assessments, which described a cost per linear foot method without consideration of special benefits or uniformity, which may violate our rights under South Dakota and United States constitutions. We were also met with hostile and divisive accusations that our inquiries were grossly misconstrued as an attempt to entrap the city. Entrapment occurs when coercion and overbearing tactics are used by a governing body to induce someone to commit a crime in order to secure their prosecution. We are here to express our concerns and to freely share information that would help everyone involved become more educated about the process to avoid a situation in which the need for litigation and prosecution would arise. This is the opposite of entrapment. Furthermore, we do not view ourselves in opposition to the city, but rather as a part of the whole. And as such, we do not seek to entrap or cause harm, but to educate and be educated for the greater good of the community. We also recognize that accusations of ill intent made by the city or its representatives could be an effective tool to denigrate and suppress the voices of residents, and therefore should not be tolerated at council meetings. The most appropriate way to address intentions is to simply ask, what are your intentions? It is direct and effective and will result in a conversation that is on track. So to clear the air and get back on track, we'd like to share our intentions once more. One, to address how we can meet the goals of the city for expansion, development, and new affordable housing in an equitable manner which ensures the constitutional rights of residents are honored. And two, to identify practices which may be unconstitutional to avoid a taking or the need for litigation in order to protect and benefit both the city and residents. We have devoted countless hours and considerable expense researching and speaking with professionals, attending meetings, and preparing comments. All of this effort has been made in order to build our understanding so that our statements are as concise and informed as possible. Still, this is a complex issue that will undoubtedly take some time to discuss, so we ask that you honor our effort, intention, and participation, and that you take the time to provide informed answers. If you are unable to answer any questions from an informed position, we ask that you research the question and provide an informed response. We believe this will not be time wasted, as revisiting this issue will be beneficial to the council and public alike. With that request in mind, we would like to state that as our understanding of the issue has increased, we have learned that there are many variables which will ultimately affect the outcome of the cost of improvements to infrastructure, such as the cost of materials and special benefits. While it is important to understand the existence of these variables, we believe they should not be used to refuse an explanation of the process. Furthermore, we suggest that acknowledgement of these variables indicates the need to consider each property's individual special benefits as opposed to dividing the total cost for improvements amongst adjacent property owners and assigning a uniform cost per linear foot for improvements as was declared. For this reason, we are not seeking exact answers as to the cost of improvements prior to a petition for such improvements, but rather an explanation of how these improvements might be funded and how the cost of these improvements would be equitably shared in a manner that honors the constitutional rights of residents. We attempted to resolve this question prior to rezoning to increase the density of our neighborhood, and though our concerns were not resolved before approval of the development was granted, we still seek to answer these concerns well in advance of any proposed improvements. Our hope is that shedding light on the issue now will help us to become more informed should the council not afford the time for deliberation of these issues in the future if a petition is brought forward. To provide useful insight to the city and support our conclusions so that we can demonstrate that our stance was derived not from conjecture but from precedent, we previously provided Mayor Nathan Anderson and council members Troy Boone, Steve Kane, Teresa Fagan, Art Schott, Gerald Daly, and Tom Erickson copies of the Hubbard versus City of Fair Opinion, upon which we noted the information we believe to be most relevant in supporting our stance. The city attorney, Tom Freeberg, declined to accept the document. To further support our stance, we will email additional material to Mayor Nathan Anderson and the council for review prior to the June 17, 2009 council meeting. Based on this information and current law, we would like to address some specific questions for which we are still seeking answers. We will email these questions to Mayor Nathan Anderson and the council along with other supporting documents. We understand that there are many matters to be discussed at council meetings and that the answers to these questions may require further research on the part of the council. So we ask that you provide us a written response to each question prior to the June 17, 2019 meeting to allow time for us to be added to the agenda should we wish. If you require clarity in regards to any of these questions, please reply via email well in advance of the June 17, 2018 meeting. While making progress on this issue has been challenging for everyone involved, we continue to extend our trust on the belief that council members would not wish to make decisions which would impede on the rights of residents and would never do so intentionally. We ask for your goodwill in return. So at this time, we'd ask if you have any questions or comments, and if not, that's all we have to say. No response? No questions?
Any questions, please?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Finance and Utility Committee update.
We met with Denny, the engineer, Mike, and Jerry, Teresa, Troy, and myself to review again the lines and the conditions that would require to change those lines. Some of the issues that came up that we discussed centered around the cost estimate. We got so specific, we even talked cost of the poles, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you have that stuff written down yet from them? And the estimate stuff?
That we had the other day.
Yeah.
Not with me, but
The original estimate was 1.377 million using steel poles. The alternative route would be about 3.5 miles or 1.375 million with self-supporting structures. the issues with some of those structures going in an alternative route. And if you have your map, the alternative route is coming out of the substation to the east to the, the quarter line?
Yeah, so 470 first, the
Yeah.
road that runs up.
Be 471st and then south to 295th and then straight east to our original route on 472nd. The engineer was concerned about the amount of line that's inaccessible in case of bad weather. Years like this, his estimate for even renting some of that equipment is somewhere around $15,000 a month, and which is a per day cost of pretty high as well. And we kind of beat it all around in what we would do, how we would go about it, but at the end we came out, it looked like we needed to stay with the original plan. However, we want to listen to what some of the landowners have to say, so I think Jerry's arranged for our next council meeting to have an open session at 6:30, and hopefully we'll listen. I can't speak for all the rest of you, but I don't know if there's a real good alternative in my mind.
Right, we talked about even running down 471st and coming across by the lagoons, and going in that way, right? And there's a bunch of reasons why we don't want to do that.
Right.
That one that Steve just talked about would have to have a new environmental study
Right.
done, and that would take, what, a year, 18 months or something like that?
That's what the last one did.
Well, another thing, if we go in the field, you know, years like this, it's really wet. We have a line down on the interstate. I don't know if you guys have been able to get out there now or not, but what is it costing to rent the equipment just to get out there and do that?
Well, the only piece of equipment we could find, was a more or less a man lift. We're making it work. We just got out there today.
But what's the cost? I mean, I guess that's my point, is we're gonna spend.
It was like $3,000 for 4 weeks.
Okay.
But and
So-
we had to pay to ship it here, and they gotta come get it yet. We gotta pay for that too. So
Right.
it was probably about $4,500.
And if it's a frequent occurrence, it's something that the city then's gonna have to probably look at investing in our own.
It's not an ideal piece of equipment,
Sure.
for what we're doing with it, but.
But the point is, if we go across the fields, we have no way of easily getting to it, so we're gonna have to have special equipment, potentially crop damage if there's crop in the ground. I don't know, there's just some big,
The
for
style
us
of
to
poles
say-
changes a bit in the middle too, doesn't it, Mike? Would they go to H poles or something if we go in the middle to cross some of this?
That was coming out of the Wapaso.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a few structures in there. That would be different.
So,
Questions?
Because it was about a push for money, whichever way we did it, basically, when it came down to it, right? They were all about the same amount of money.
Yep.
I mean, within a couple thousand of each other.
Even though it was shorter, it wasn't cheaper.
Right.
and Dennis still felt comfortable with our original overall project, $6 million budget.
Yeah.
He still was pretty comfortable with even some of the changes that have happened, that we would still be right around that.
One of the things I think that probably bothered us all is what's out there with this that we don't know about. You talk about the rental of equipment if we had a bad winter, or what kind of issues do we have if we damage crops or in the land and that type of thing.
It's like right now, we're trying to get in there, the interstate. We asked Fallbirds the other day if we could cross their field. They really don't want us out there. Because some of it's been planted, some of it hasn't. you gotta respect that.
We had talked
It
too
makes it
about
challenging.
if we went through some of these fields, asking if it is, going to, so to say, benefit anybody that's along that 472nd Avenue. We talked about maybe asking them to not hold the city accountable for crop damage if we had to get in there. I'm not sure that they're gonna wanna agree to that either, but something we talked about. So, yeah, like Steve said, we,
Essentially, there's not much change.
Perfect. The recommendation as of right now is to
Stick with the original.
stick with the
plan.
original plan. Just one comment I guess I would add is, I just think we all need to be really vigilant with this project and the cost estimates as we go through, because the one fear I have is, like you mentioned, Steve, the unknown. And I think keeping the costs as close to what we have estimated or what we have received in estimates, so that this does not result in increasing rates to our customers. Because right now, we're pretty high. And I would fear that this balloons out of control and results in a 10, 20, 30% increase in our rates. Because we're basically about the highest rates in the state right now. So I just think we all need to be very cautious and aware of that.
And we did discuss that, being the highest rates, but the thing that I keep coming back to is, okay, so if we just trash this whole thing and then wait 2 years or whatever, and we have a major incident, we're on the other side of them too. So, yeah, there's not a,
I'm not saying not to do
No.
it, I'm just saying,
no, I understand that. I'm just, I, in my own mind, I'm looking at it and saying, okay, maybe we shouldn't, and if we don't, then what happens? We're in deep trouble. But I think moving forward is, I agree, we gotta watch our budget, stay as close to it as we can.
And I specifically asked that too about towns that have backup substations and stuff like that. And after talking about it at that meeting that we had, I mean, I don't think we're behind the ball, but I think if we don't start working on this, that we're going to be quickly. And it's gonna be just a short period of time before something happens. And we're gonna really, 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 really wish that we had done this.
and I briefly talked with Jerry, and I can always get more detail too on, we've already talked with the bonding company, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Jerry, but we've talked with them. Jerry gave me kind of an estimate of what a bond payment would be at the $6 million. So I think as we go into budgeting season this year, I think our utility committee really needs to work closely to see where we can fit that bond payment into your cash flow and what else then we need to do citywide. So, maybe that's a department that we need to look at first, so that when we get into the overall budget with all their general fund and everything else, that we can maybe adjust where we need to.
Well, I think Dennis is working hard to get a material package put together so we can get that ordered sooner than later before that price increases more.
So we're hoping to get materials yet this year,
Correct.
which would get purchased by the bond. And then, our first bond payment would most likely be 2020. So just some things, obviously our committee has been talking, and we know we have some definite financial research we've got to get done for budget time, but.
any other comments, questions? Thank you all for your hard work. I know it's a lot, but next item on the agenda, department head report, Bridges Golf Course, Ben Ryder is not here, Jerry's ready to.
We got a quote from the automatic door group, and I think that should be in each of your packets, to put openers on both sets of the doors going into the main entrance at the Bridges. Just talking to Ben this afternoon, he said we had about 5 customers that probably would have used that opener had we had this weekend. So anyhow, these guys do a lot of work for Stanford. They've got a contract with Stanford. They do Fiesta Foods here in town. do with Lewis, so some of the doors that they service here. One of the things I think we want to, if we hire someone to do this, we want them to be around. These guys have been around for quite some time, and they've got a lot of contracts from here all the way down to Sioux City, so they do go fast. So if we do have problems with one, they're prepared to come down and assist us. So, you've got two quotes there. The one is with the heavy duty arms operators, and that was $4,180. And then we've also got one with, I think we're only using one heavy duty and one secondary duty or whatever we want to call it, and that's $3,990. So there's not much difference in there. I guess I would recommend that we go with the heavy duty ones just because of the minimal cost difference. The only other thing that we would have to do is we do have to bring power down to each of these operators, and that's any of our electricians here in town can do that. It shouldn't really cause or disrupt anything at all. We will. The only other thing
Do we have other city buildings that need this done too, that we should just look at and just do, or?
we have the library is done. City Hall probably would be nice if we could do something, but we have not done anything here, obviously.
I mean, if we're gonna piecemeal buildings, why don't we just do them?
We can start budgeting some every year. The ones that serve the public quite on a regular basis, because we do get a lot of traffic through here. If someone needs to be let in, we'll go open the doors for them. We can see what's going on too.
What other
Those guys
buildings
can.
would we possibly need? I mean, we don't need to know tonight, maybe we should look at that.
Senior center has.
I
Here,
mean,
did you say the library does?
We do have one down there, yeah.
I'm just throwing that
Well, I
out.
would say this front door needs to be on the list.
Oh, by next meeting, can you give us an idea?
Yeah, we'll give you some different ones. That
At least one entry into every public building.
I've got to make a comment though, I'm amazed that that building got put up as recently as it did, without some kind of handicap accessibility.
In 12 years and it hasn't gone up since.
Amazing. I would make a motion then, if we're ready to do that, if we accept or go with the heavy duty bid.
Not second.
Motion made by Kane and seconded to accept the quote for $4,180 for the handicap door for the bridges. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Mike Hanson, Electric Superintendent.
You want to talk about the distribution line deal or new hire?
I think just the new hire, and then let's do that one first.
Okay. Well, the last couple of weeks I did 3 interviews, had 4 scheduled, 1 guy no-showed on me. And I guess I'm gonna make the recommendation to hire that Tucker Foxhoven.
What's the name?
Tucker Foxhoven. We had 2 guys that had pretty different experiences. We did not get a journeyman to apply, but one the guy had a lot of underground experience and not so much overhead, and the other guy had a lot of overhead and no underground. So it's we kind of talked about where we wanted to go and our day-to-day stuff. So
Where's Tucker coming from?
Dave's Construction. He's actually the foreman crew leader that he has up there right now. So he lives in Harrisburg right now. So somewhat local. Grew up around the area. So
What is his level at? What is his level right now?
his level.
Yeah, like, is he apprentice, you said he's not a journeyman?
Dave really doesn't offer that to the guys. He's got the time in.
Okay.
So we get him the program after 6 months. And then he can work on it at his own pace.
Sounds good.
So any of the candidates would have had to do the same thing.
What do you wanna hire him at?
We'll have to go with the union rate, $25.
Goes without saying, you've done reference checks and that sort of.
One of our guys used to work with them.
Alex worked with him when Alex worked at Dave's before he came here. And, highly recommended. Good work ethic and things like that.
So I can make a motion to hire Tucker Foxhoven at $25 an hour.
Chad second.
Motion made by Swagan and seconded to approve the hire of Tucker Coxoven at the rate of $25 an hour. Any further discussion?
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
So after 6 months trial, is Tucker thinking about moving to Beresford then? That's when he's on call.
Yeah, I think he'll start looking right away.
So the question I had.
Yeah, no, we outside said you have to live within 15 minutes of Beresford, so he didn't have a problem with it.
Perfect.
Right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Distribution lines, sir. I saw you guys up there working on it this afternoon.
Well, it's fun to go ahead and have to try it, we only have that piece of equipment for a couple more weeks, so. Gotta get out there, and we got 4 downs, we had 16 to do. We didn't get started until this afternoon after it quit raining. So, yeah, it's going as long as we haven't got the muddy part yet, so hopefully it keeps drying out and we can keep going. That thing just kind of tracks right through the mud, so.
I might get on it right in the morning. Was it heavy rain tomorrow?
Hope not, but.
Don't be up there if it's raining. I'm
Hopefully
just
it'll go
throwing that
right
out.
through, hopefully it'll go right through the cracks and everything. So, John Euchner from Southeastern brought that contract, and everything with that. Then we agreed to, pay for some of the burying of their overhead line, making room for ours. It was discussed, when was that, back in January, February?
Quite a while ago.
But nothing was ever signed. So he brought a couple contracts down, signed them both, and then we got returned one to them.
The only reason we're doing that is that they've got overhead now. They're gonna go underground so that we can put our poles there.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. They're in a way for us, so.
Do we need a motion to approve that, or has it already been approved and just need to be paid?
Probably was most authorizing the mayor to sign it. I think it was just discussed that we would, and
Yeah, and then I called looking for it, and they're like, well, we don't have a copy of it, but it was in the minutes that it was approved. And
What's the budget, 66?
This is along 77.
77 and a little bit on 294 going that way.
$66,670.58.
So a motion to approve the 66,670.58 payment to Southeast.
Glenn Sullivan. Chad second.
Motion made by Deleen and seconded, to approve payment to Southeast Electric Co-op, $66,670.58. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. One question, Mike, the down power line? Do we have a bunch of costs associated with putting that back up in terms of material, or?
We had, in our inventory, we had, all the cross arms were destroyed when that happened. We were able to reuse all the insulators. We just gotta take them off, take the studs out of the bottom, put new ones in, we have all that on hand. So there's a little bit of cost, but not a lot. Just the cost of the cross arms, eventually that line will come down when this new one's done. And then just the rental of the equipment. So that's about all.
I want to mention that relay switch on the substation too, just kind of what your thought process is there.
So we need to get that back up and running because Waukesha is the brand of the transformer in the substation. And they feel that the reason power tripped out about a month ago was a rusty junction box with a bunch of bad connections in it. Pretty much sent DC voltage to tell the transformer to trip out. So they came up with a fix, and it's a whole new wiring harness to replace all the old stuff. And they wanna take a 2-day outage to fix that. Not necessarily we gotta shut the town off for 2 days, but if we get that line that we're working on and use the other backup line coming into town, we'll be able to shut the power off in the middle of the night, go over those 2 circuits, turn the town back on for the weekend, and then change it back on a Sunday night. But probably during the summer, we won't be able to carry all the industrial load that comes with that. So doing it during the week is pretty much not gonna happen. It's only gonna get warmer out, and your road's gonna go up. So, the cost of that was about, it was what, about 8,000, 9,000 last year?
If it's done on the weekend, it's 7,853.75 is what they had estimated.
There's $1,000 more to do it on the weekend. But there's just no way we're gonna carry that, Quality Park, Frisco, Jersey Point, we're not gonna carry them.
So how far out do you anticipate? Did you say, if I missed it, I apologize, but
Tentatively, it's scheduled for June 29th, unless it's really hot. Then we're gonna have to find another time, otherwise we're gonna push it off the fall.
so do we need to develop a message and talk to all of our commercial users in particular?
But once we get this lined up first.
Okay.
Hopefully we can get it done here next week. We'll at least give them a couple weeks notice before it happens. And I was gonna talk to, I think really, the main one would be Quality Park, see what time they shut down on Friday night.
They already don't.
You don't shut down?
Nope, 6, 7 days, some days Sundays, some days, most of the time Saturday. We've been in overtime since January, moving more machines in now. Bringing them from Utah, the load's gonna get way bigger, not smaller.
Maybe we can talk to Dennis and see what works best for him.
I think it's better to start that talk now,
Yeah.
and even without a firm date, just see what sort of assistance that they could provide us with, how we could minimize any impact.
Mhm.
Turkey Hatchery, another one, I think they have a generator that can help run them, but yeah.
Yeah, we would ask them to go on their generator.
I think we need to start that communication now.
Yeah, no, we can do that. Otherwise, it's pushing to then the fall, So,
So you need to get started, get some time set up for those guys to get here too. I think that quote's only good through August 1st. So.
right now it's scheduled for the 29th.
Okay, sure.
It is scheduled, they got us on the calendar for June 20th, that weekend, to go off and back on. And they did work out with Dennis, hopefully, to turn everything off and back on, I would say hopefully a half an hour. And then coming back on should be a little quicker. So,
Do you have an appointment with them like tomorrow?
No, I haven't talked to Dennis
I
yet.
try to talk to them ASAP.
Yeah,
Possible.
I'll reach out to him
Yeah,
tomorrow.
because we're hiring quite a few more people for all 3 shifts, so I mean, our loads are definitely getting increased. But if you kind of more respectful, try to get hold of ASAP if you could. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Just inform them, let them know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Let's see if anything else.
Hope for a nice, cool, wet weekend.
Wet?
We can drive, we can drive.
Keep it cool.
Cool dry.
Cool, dry weekend, alright. We don't wanna make anyone else mad.
April financial report. Elaine?
Inside of the council packet is the April financials that I put together and had Teresa review. I don't know if she wants to talk about them or not, but I think we're all on track.
One comment I do, I guess if anybody wants me to kind of walk through them as I have been in the past, let me know. But one comment I do want to make is on under the liabilities and fund balances. So current liabilities, we still have some negative payroll related liabilities and negative accounts payable. And by way of the auditors, I think we've kind of figured out maybe what was causing that. So hopefully once the auditors finish up with the audit, they'll give us some audit adjustments and get those all cleaned up. So other than that, I think revenues, I'm anxious to see what May brings for the golf course, because right now it's still losing some money for the year. I know we'll never get positive, but we'll see kind of what it brings in and, not gonna be good, is it?
They're open 3 days.
In May?
I don't know. They went open much.
So, but I think every other department, like street and grid, cable, we know that kind of gets supplemented by the telephone department. But anybody have any questions on them for Elaine or myself?
I noticed if I was reading this correct, it seems like the liquor revenue has gone up
Yes.
quite a bit this year than last two.
So right now, it's already at 20,000 positive, so yeah. Or it's operating.
Fields.
Hope for a wet year.
Yeah, Mayor, one thing to comment on that, so down, the 61,000 down towards the bottom, that is a transfer, that's one of those entries we approved, and so that's not really income as far as operations goes. So you need to look really at the excess revenue over expenditures, that $20,000 positive for the liquor store.
Yep, that's what I was looking at.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that we aren't looking at those transfers as income, so.
One thing I was curious about, and maybe I missed it on here, do we have the revenue from the 10 and 2 liquor tax?
That's included with the general. It would be underneath.
And under the very first line, under taxes.
Yeah. It would be included in there.
Under 310?
If you
We
want,
can get that
I'd
pretty
say
easily
if you
for you.
wanna,
I'd just be curious to see
how much that's bringing in.
Because you got a separate line item for that too. This is
separate that out if
Right.
possible.
Sure. Yes, the foods is a great.
Plus, I'm curious, I want to see
They are.
how
Yeah. Yeah, I can get that
more
for you.
places in town selling, how that's impacting some of the revenue.
Also, the 2018 audit is completed and we are hoping to get it returned to us this week. And as soon as I get it, I will email it out to everyone to start reviewing it. And then I have asked Terry Post to come to the council meeting, and then at that time we can ask for any questions that we might have. But as soon as I get it, I'd like you to start reviewing it. We're kind of in a time crunch to get the approved financials to Todd so that he can send them off for his audit that needs to be completed by July 1st.
And once we approve it, they'll give us the adjustments, is that right? Right.
Any questions? Thank you. Next item, old business, ordinance 2019-04, adoption of provisions for small cell wireless communication facilities, second reading and adoption.
Mayor, did you want to have someone approve the financials?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, do I have a motion to approve the April financial report?
Ian moves to approve the April financial report.
Boone second.
Motion by Kane and seconded to approve the April financial report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, Elaine.
You're fine.
Now, old business, 2019-04 ordinance for the wireless communication.
I didn't hear any more from department heads on this. One of the questions I think the mayor had asked last meeting was about Brookings, what their experience has been with it. I think Todd and I had a conference call with Steve Meyer, the general manager of Swiftel, about some other issues last week, but we did bring this up, and they've got, I think he said they have 10 small cells, 8 of which are on campus at SDSU. Others are going to be located on poles. He said it's really boiling down. They're going to end up on city-owned light poles is where he thinks they'll all end up. So they're kind of learning as they go if there's some issues that arise, but so far it's been pretty well focused in on the campus. And that's not to be unexpected. That's obviously where their highest usage of internet's going to be by a long ways. So Sioux Falls is going to, they kind of do everything their own way. different than the rest of the world. And they're seeing obviously a lot of it in Sioux Falls and downtown areas, more heavily populated areas where there's a lot of usage. So they don't know how soon we'll see those coming here, if at all. But, this will give Todd's department the first say on approving the location of those, and then his objective, of course, is to get the fiber traffic that they're generating. So.
Need a motion on that?
We need to, if you want to approve this.
We move to approve ordinance 2019-04 for adoption of the provisions for small cell wireless communications.
Boone second.
Motion made by Delene and seconded to approve or adopt ordinance 2019-04. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, new business Ward 3 council applicants. We have 2 candidates that have expressed interest, and what I'm proposing is this week, if at all possible, having the mayor advisory council, myself, meet with both those individuals for a brief time, come up with a recommendation, a consensus, and then bring that forward at the next meeting. I think both the candidates have some unique skills to potentially to bring to the council. So that's kind of plan forward there as of right now. Second item. Can I talk about department head reviews?
Sure.
Okay. Really briefly, we talked about the department head reviews months ago, last year. I'd like to put a timeline on that, the first meeting in July, to have a framework for how we're going to do that this year, this first year, because it's creeping away. And I'll work with members of the advisory council to come up with some basic starting framework for how we can do that. I'm assuming within consultation with Elaine as well, because I think she's has some input here. So the goal there is July 1st to start rolling that out. Any questions? Next item, accept resignation from Police Officer Dylan Nelson and authorize the advertising of a full-time police officer.
Shall I make a motion to accept the resignation of police officer Mr. Nelson and authorize advertising for a full-time police officer?
Second.
Motion made by Shuck, seconded to accept resignation from Officer Dylan Nelson. I think it was effective June 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And then authorizing the advertising of full-time police officer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Informational item, as Steve alluded to a little bit ago, June 17th, we want to move the start time to 6:30 for an open to the public meeting and discussion on specific to the routing of the substation transmission lines.
That'll be down at the, we're gonna move it down to the library. We don't think there'll probably be enough seats in here, so. Yeah, why don't we have a motion to set it to 6:30?
Shall I make a motion for June 17, 2019 city council meeting to start at 6:30 p.m. at the library, so we got plenty of room, as Nathan described the situation.
Glenn, second.
Motion made by Shaw and seconded to move the June 17th meeting, council meeting to 6:30 p.m. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The motion to approve 2 travel request to the Municipal League Budget Training Workshop, July 11th, Johnson and Simons.
Shall I make a motion for South Dakota Municipal League 2019 Budget Training Workshop, Sioux Falls, July 11th, 2019 for Johnson and Simons.
Kane second.
Motion by Schott and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to pay the bills.
Boone moves, pay the bills.
Kane second.
Motion by Boone and seconded for authorizing payment of bills. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
Boone moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We adjourn.
Hey, this is recorded.
Oh.
This is.
Yeah.
That was fun, but